Coming up on today's wrestling news, we've got a major shake-up on Friday Night SmackDown.
A controversial WWE legend has teased a Royal Rumble return.
Seth Rollins' future as WWE World Heavyweight Champion revealed.
And the backstage reaction to Vince McMahon's 2022 retirement. I'm Adam Wilborn.
I've got the best taste in wrestlers.
And this is the news.
It is. And we start with a very nice news, I suppose, for a guy that we quite like here at WhatCulture. But yes, the major change upcoming on this week's Friday Night SmackDown, as in happening with immediate effect, is that Kevin Patrick is, quote, out of the chair as the Blue Brand's lead commentator. This dropped last night, I want to get the name right, from an Aaron Varble of SES Scoops, or SE Scoops, excuse me, who simply said, SmackDown is set for a change, Kevin Patrick is out, no replacement named yet, reason I was given, quote, it just wasn't working out. That was a post on X. That was then clarified by Dave Meltzer, who said it was, quote, accurate. So that's all we know right now, but obviously reading between the lines a little bit, it's maybe a follow-on from how Patrick ended up on SmackDown, if you recall. In 2022, he was moved to the Raw commentary table. Then in 2023, he was shifted to SmackDown alongside Michael Cole, kind of also with an additional hand on the wheel, I suppose. Since then, we've had combinations of Cole, Patrick, and Wade Barrett. And now I guess it's all changed again on SmackDown. Patrick, of course, signed with WWE in 2021 as a backstage reporter, in which he developed a reputation as being quite a likeable, affable figure backstage. As is often the case, you get moved up into commentary, but then it doesn't always fit for everybody, and it feels like that's now the case with Patrick. He does, we should mention, work as Kevin Egan, doing football commentary for Apple TV+, CNN and Fox Sports. So no stranger at the broadcast booth, but potentially one now in WWE.
Yeah, there always seems to be constant changes, certainly on the main roster, in terms of commentary. A commentary carousel, if you will. We talk about the managerial merry-go-round.
Indeed, yeah.
We've got the commentary carousel now. Because, they've had such a vast series of changes of, people being brought in as commentators and then being put as, like you say, backstage interviewers, or just variations of things being moved around with Corey and Wade and what have you. And I think back to like Adnan Virk and Jimmy Smith.
Yep.
They just can't really settle. They basically want to clone Michael Cole.
I think that's it, isn't it? Like Michael Cole, remember a few weeks ago when it was a reference that he was missing a Raw and it was only his second in X number of years or something? That's not necessarily, he should be proud of that, but it's not like necessarily a company culture to parrot, and yet, deep down, that's what they're after, a certain voice, a certain delivery style. Yeah, and it doesn't, we should mention as well, we don't know what Patrick's future with WWE will be beyond this. There's absolutely no shame in returning to his role as a backstage reporter if indeed that's where he fits. I guess we'll find out more in the days to come. You've got Vic Joseph on NXT, who of course was on Monday Night Raw at one point, and then NXT UK, I think, and he's been here, there and everywhere, so maybe it's him getting another shot on the main roster. But we'll wait and see. I guess he'll be there on SmackDown Friday. We would expect Cole and Graves to call a Rumble on Saturday. They often lean on those two for the PLEs. But
Wade's going to be in it, so,
Well, of course, he'll be busy, won't he?
Imagine, oh my God.
Boom! Tune in Friday night, I guess, to find out, unless we get reports in the meantime, of who's going to take his spot.
And join us Saturday night for our Royal Rumble live stream here on the YouTube channel. And hey, whilst you're at it, joining us for things, why not get your tickets right now for the Gang Goes to WrestleMania? It's always sunny at WhatCulture, whatculture.com/tickets. Our live show, first time we're doing a live show in the US in 5 years. You lucky gits. We're going to be the meat in your WrestleMania sandwich. It goes down Sunday lunchtime on night 2 of day 2, I suppose, of WrestleMania. And if you're going to night 2 of WrestleMania, so are we. So don't worry, you'll be able to get over there in plenty of time. We'll do a convoy, we got a silver column. I can't promise that part, but I can promise great banter. It's always sunny at WhatCulture. WhatCulture.com/tickets. VIP sold out. Gone.
If you like this, you'll love that. But buy tickets anyway.
Yes. But general tickets still available right now. And I've seen some people panicking, saying, what about meet and greets and stuff? But we're not going to say no to a photo. We're not certain wrestlers. Just you might not be able to get the meet and greet ticket. Whatever you're doing, hurry up and get your tickets. WhatCulture.com/tickets. It's going to be a great day.
Don't bring your Adam Wilborn figures to the airport, Just let the man get settled in the city of brotherly love before, then he puts on a show.
But we mentioned the Royal Rumble coming up this Saturday, and we've speculated a whole load on who could be showing up in the Rumble. This name didn't come up.
No.
Hulk Hogan!
Excuse me?
Has teased a Royal Rumble return. He hasn't wrestled since 2012, of course.
I was there for that, oddly. I didn't expect that man, looking knackered in his red Adidas tracksuit bottoms, would be calling it a career in Manchester.
Yes, he has been followed by quite a lot of controversy since, and he's made sporadic appearances at WrestleMania, and they had to put people out next to him so people didn't boo him so much, etc., etc. But we all thought his in-ring days were done until last night on Raw. They're doing all the video packages for the Royal Rumble by the numbers, and then Hogan's there talking about the 40th anniversary of the beginning of Hulkamania, and you think, oh, this is all very nice and a nice reminisce. Obviously, they're doing all like legendary stuff with 2K and
the past.
Yes,
the past.
And he talked about people who are doing well, Punk, Rhodes. They had quite a good promo actually last night. Someone should talk about that on the Raw Review podcast, What Culture Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. And then at the end, he talked about the unpredictability of the Royal Rumble before concluding with the words, "You never know, I might have one left in me." Wet.
Yeah. Hogan's done this before. One springs to mind, and there are other examples. There was a Raw celebration show in the mid-2000s when he came out and did his usual Hogan shtick. This is before the controversies. We'll just say it, like when he was out as a massive racist, where he came out, I think, with Mean Gene or Jimmy Hart or something, and then ended his promo by going, "Oh yeah, brother," he's like, "You're fighting Randy Savage, are you?" Like, did you ask Randy Savage about this? Did you ask like anybody backstage in WWE, or did we just give him a live microphone? This is not that. Obviously, a pre-recorded bit on the Rumble Go Home Raw is very approved and very ticked off and all the rest of it. Weird old thing to say though. Like, is he soft launching his own cameo to be at the show, even if he's not in the actual match? Like,
yeah.
Was his last I don't think it was his last on-screen appearance, but like his last big moment like this was dressed as a pirate at WrestleMania 37, right? So they're wary about
Titus,
well, indeed. Yeah, they're wary about how and when they use him, but I feel like there might be a lot of Hogan this year with it being the 40th anniversary of Hulkamania, so maybe strap in for more of this.
I'm not going to dismiss the racism whatsoever.
No.
I still think that's abhorrent. But opinion has slightly shifted on Hogan in recent weeks because obviously he saved that person from their upturned car.
Yeah, I suppose that's like it's quite WWE, I guess, to take advantage of being able to sneak in and be like, oh, they like him for a bit, right? Hoy him on television, and then we might be able to get away with it. I don't know. He's never not going to be a controversial figure from now on. That's the reality of Hogan.
Would you like to see Hogan in the Rumble, or if not him, which legends would you like to see make an appearance on Saturday night? Let us know in the comments section below.
Somebody who won't be making an appearance on Saturday night in the ring,
bloody hope not,
might still be doing so at WrestleMania, is Seth Rollins. We have a bit of an update on his future as WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I say a bit of a one, because that was what he provided on Monday Night Raw last night. He's been the talk of much discussion this week since suffering an injury against Jinder Mahal, and he provided an update, or did he? Because he walked out in his usual refinery, lovely like shimmering green suit, but with a heavily braced up knee. I'll get the details right from our article on the website. He said there was a grade 2 tear of his MCL and torn medial meniscus. Now, you don't need Dr. Fed to tell you that that's approximately a 3 to 4 month recovery time.
Of course, yes.
Which would just get him in underneath the time for WrestleMania, but it would presumably include very, very extensive rehab.
Yeah, it's John Cena rehab levels, this, isn't it?
Intensive rehab, should I say. But the point was made, I guess, by the segment itself playing out the way it did, which was in Gunther coming out and challenging him and saying, well, when I win the Rumble, I'm going to challenge you for that belt. So WWE were at least implying that Seth will carry that gold into WrestleMania, even if he's not able to do too much before then. That seems to be the play going forward, but there is at least still a briefcase looming large. There is an injured and wounded champion, and there are multiple people wanting to point at the WrestleMania sign on Saturday. Feels like it's all still to play for.
Damian Priest's a dumbass.
Well,
he literally came out and said, I can barely put any weight on this. Like, I'm joking, of course. He was already enacting against Drew McIntyre, and he's I think he's beginning a babyface turn. I know he had his issues with R-Truth, but I think, this is not Edge with the briefcase, for example, back in the day where he just like,
I'll drill that leg, actually.
But he didn't surrender the title.
Nope.
And I know people will say, oh, well, if he's not going to defend it for the next 2 and a bit months, I'd rather have him not defend it but still have the huge match with CM Punk, let's say.
No, I, for one, think it would be unforgivable if a top champion went months and months and months without defending his prize. I don't think in 2023, 2024, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can have title runs like that anymore.
It would be really funny on the road to WrestleMania if Roman Reigns was like, why are you defending that title?
He just
that is ridiculous.
Looks at his watch like...
There's no 30-day rule, obviously. Look at Roman Reigns. So, I'll allow it because I just want to get to Rollins or Rollins Punk or Rollins Gunther, but probably Rollins Punk.
Well, it'd be nice to think as well that some of this, I don't know, this is not reporting, some of this is being worked for dramatic effect, and hopefully the injury isn't as serious as you're saying. Maybe the reality is 1 to 2 months, but 3 to 4 certainly makes it all the more dramatic going into WrestleMania, doesn't it? Like, we all want Seth Rollins to make it to the show and be healthy and fit and all that, but it's almost added a layer of intrigue that the world title going into the Rumble didn't have. There wasn't going to be a match at the Royal Rumble, and now the belt itself is its own prize, not least with the champion, spotting a pretty big target on that knee.
I'm fascinated to see where this goes. I really am. Really excited to see what happens next.
'Tis the season, is it not?
It's just awesome, all this. And by the way, speaking of big matches for WrestleMania weekend, I'm going to fight Simon Miller if he doesn't give CM Punk and Cody Rhodes a golden up on ups and downs today.
Do you think Miller would carry Phil like that on the stage?
Yes.
Into his fight against
Phil actually, ironically, that hairy. So,
well, yeah, this isn't a Photoshop. We posed for this.
Yeah.
It's like, it does look familiar to us.
So happy I got Dennis. I'm so happy because of the implication. Let's move on to our final story of the day, which is a bit of it's sort of an old news story, but been brought up to date by a recent interview which revealed more details on it. I'm talking about Vince McMahon's 2022 retirement. But Mason Madden, formerly Mace, formerly Mossy, of the Maximum Male Models, was chatting to the brilliant Steve Fall of WrestlingNews.co, or Wrestling News Co, if you want to go and check this video out on their YouTube channel. Love Steve Fall, does some fantastic work. And he's revealed, has Mason, the chaos that basically happened backstage when this story dropped, just like probably in every WhatCulture office or wrestling reporting office. What do you mean he's retiring?
Yeah.
So, Mason said, we get the text that Vince is retired. Text, can you imagine that? And everybody's running around like the whole place is on fire. Obviously, the show completely changed within minutes. We have no idea who's actually in charge. He continued to talk about how some people might have been more happier than others, basically. It's funny, when we all got the text, we're all sitting around the ring because people are going over their matches and their segments and all that, and you could see certain people got it and they were happy, and then other people were sad. Not that we were ever like Vince's baby doll, but we were much closer to being Vince's toy than we were to being Hunter's toy because we weren't NXT guys. So yeah, basically, if you're in NXT or you're an NXT person, finding out that Vince has gone and Triple H, going to be absolutely ecstatic with this. If you're Vince McMahon guys, you think, uh-oh, what does the future hold for me? Which is, I suppose, what many people anticipated. It did kind of come out of the blue, even though this had been swirling for a while.
Yeah. I remember the story at the time of, it was from a Raw or SmackDown, and it was SmackDown, I think Brock Lesnar just going, well, that's it for me then.
Yeah.
I work for Vince McMahon, I don't work for any of you. And then I think he got tempted back into the building by the end of the show. It endlessly fascinating, I find, when there's release stories or whatever and wrestlers joke, and it's good that they can joke about, I suppose, of like wanting to dodge calls with the Connecticut dialing code on. The prospect of like massive wrestler text groups or WhatsApp groups, like right from the top, everybody getting that mass text or something like that. It's such a bizarre way to deal with.
Who texts that as well? Because the highest up text you'd get is from Vince.
Yeah, like somebody's job is to press the button to tell all of the wrestlers that Vince McMahon is out. You would assume that it's been hacked then or something like that. Somebody's got their hands on Vince's phone or whatever. It must have been such a bizarre experience to live through. I expect over the years more stories like this to drop. I would happily have a sit down. Well, do a Dark Side of the Ring. I mean, I was going to say do a Dark Side of the Ring on Vince. That'd be a Dark Side of the Ring series, wouldn't it? But do an episode.
There's a Netflix thing dropping.
Well, exactly. Yeah, do a Dark Side of the Ring where it just sits down with everybody that worked for the company during those darkest years and the feelings they had when the text dropped, when the news came down.
If it has come from Vince, if anyone else like me has got texts from elderly relatives, half of them don't make sense.
Yeah, there's odd spaces left or a misused emoji or something.
I am hereby... Is that auto-corrected? Why is there so many emojis?
But, I am gutted to announce that I will be resigning in disgrace, cry laugh emoji.
Lol. I thought I meant lots of love. Sorry. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from One Take Breeze. Thank you for your question. When are y'all going to talk about how good these promos have been since Trips took over? Says we'd make a good article. It sure would, but I know you're a big fan of this, so I thought with having you on the news, it'd be the perfect time to ask you.
Well, to answer the question, when? Today, it'll be on the Raw Review podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. Previously, it's been on the Raw, SmackDown and NXT Review podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. And in my case, any excuse I get, basically.
At Michael Hamlet on Twitter.
In front of this camera on whatculture.com/WWE. Yeah, it's not just a common denominator, as in Triple H. It's not just a common denominator, as in the return of CM Punk, though virtually everything is done has been goated. It's not even a common denominator in terms of a Drew McIntyre who has been a focused upon character with a new lease of life. It is something that is evident with a bunch of different wrestlers working with other wrestlers, all of which feel a bit more inspired by their creative directions. I have never had quite as big an issue with the heavy scripting or the heavy-handed direction of promos. I just never particularly cared for the delivery when the wrestlers clearly had no confidence in the material they were putting forth.
Robots, weren't they? Yeah.
Whether that because it was just fake feeling or because they thought, well, next week, all of this could be dead. All of it could be torn up and scrapped. Both have now been completely done away with. Not only is the material, I think, way stronger, but also the direction and the sense of focus is clear, and they can confidently deliver these lines knowing that it will actually make sense next week and the week after, and mention a show that might take place in a month or 2 months or 3 months. It's required all of these wholesale changes mixed with the right talent to get us to where we are. Andy Bernard pleaded with people to tell him about the good times when he was still in them. I am telling you now, we are in the good times.
Yeah, it's what we've been campaigning for so long. I'm not saying that you just completely let people go out and do what they want, although in the case of CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, you kind of be all right with that sort of
both,
thing.
Right?
Yeah,
you want both.
It's a vague outline, or for certain people, newer talents or whatever, people you don't trust, a more definitive outline of here's the direction we want you to go in, here's the points we kind of want you to hit. But if you're someone like a Drew, like you say, or a Cody or a Punk, just sell them on the Rumble is probably all the direction that they need, because I mean, we speculated it yesterday on the Raw preview and hit some of the points that they would you talked about starting a revolution. I literally did, and I think people might complain about giving even those sort of wrestlers a basic outline, but it's better to do that, in my opinion, than let people just go out. Certain people go out and freewheel and go into business for themselves. Right, let's move on and talk.
That wasn't in our script. We were given a scripted promo to cut for this question, and you went off book.
Hey, I suppose for you, the apology should be as loud as this.
Yeah.
Jake King.
Stuck to the bullet points.
Could have been that face-off. Could have been in AEW.
Good.
Jake King says, sorry if you've covered this, but how do you get to Gunther versus Brock? Does Gunther eliminate Brock from the Rumble, with Brock then costing Gunther the title, or do we get Gunther versus Brock for the title at Mania?
Yes, and yes. There are no wrong answers to Gunther versus Brock Lesnar. I would love if Brock Lesnar was like the rest of us, so enchanted by Gunther's Intercontinental title run that he now valued that belt in the way that we as fans do, and thought, all right, yeah, I'll compete for that.
Has he ever been IC champion?
He has not.
Yeah.
He sort of skipped that step, but he skipped it when it was a step that you felt like you could skip.
Yes.
Like, less so now. It's a belt, as we've seen with...
It's like a side quest, wasn't it, really, rather than
Like, Gunther has made no secret of his aspirations to win the Rumble and become a world champion, but he's mentioned nothing about losing the Intercontinental title, saying that he just wants it all. Eliminating Brock is as good a way as any. I think this is one of those matches that is that you can't get wrong. I don't think there's a way to tell this story badly. Not least because even if all of a sudden there was some weird thing where, like, I don't know, they were stuck in a very sports entertainment thing where Gunther dropped slime on Brock's head, it would be such a weird visual to see him covered in slime.
Yeah.
Like, I need to say a slime-covered guy kicked that guy's ass at WrestleMania.
Title, non-title, I don't care.
Title, non-title, Rumble elimination, not. This year, next year, any year, it's one of the biggest back pocket weapons WWE has, I think.
If they're not going to put Gunther in a world title match in Berlin.
Yeah, there you go. Like, I've yet to hear a pitch for this match featuring this two men that isn't good.
Who's, like, if there's going to come a point in the Rumble, hopefully, that they're both in there, who's the next person that comes out? Is it Dominic Mysterio?
My God.
Is it the Hurricane?
It's got to be Tom or Nick for the biggest part.
Tom or Nick. 2 spots. There's a sign last night. I know what you're thinking, though. Gunther, Brock, if that does go down for the title at WrestleMania, what's Chad Gable doing? Well, thankfully, Derek D-Rock Felix has kind of covered that one off. Thank you, Derek, for this. Good morning, legendary gents. Thank you, Derek. With the Olympics this summer on NBC Universal, could you see WWE cross-promoting by doing the draft this summer and pushing Chad Gable towards the US Championship for a feel-good win for the former Olympian.
Ah, that's
good,
quite
that,
nice.
isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of real-life interjection. I love the idea of drafts taking place either just after WrestleMania or in the summer when they're about to have that slump.
Yes.
Like that post-SummerSlam slump. I think the draft, it's not the most popular of devices because of the way in which it was used and abused over the years, not least when you had it around Survivor Series season and they were still obsessed with brand versus brand. A lot of damage was done to the legacy of the draft, but I think so far with Postman Pearce and the SmackDown GM, can't remember his name, there's been an effort, including even on last night's Raw, to make it clear how and why wrestlers occasionally jump across brands. So I think the draft stands as much a chance as anything of making a bit of a comeback, and I would love that.
I like the
post SummerSlam one, Chad Gable like being able to feed off all the excitement and the drama that the Olympics tends to bring. I'm not
the
against that at all.
Olympics. I become an expert at every. We shouldn't be doing that. Like these people haven't trained for their entire lives to do it.
It takes me to like, you know when you're deep in the middle of a Grand Theft Auto game and just one more mission. Like the time difference when like there's some late night, could be gymnastics or handball or these sports that you just have no interest in, but it's like midnight, you're like, one more round of it then, go on.
Where is it this year? Is it France or is that?
Oh, I don't know. I hope not because I want the times to be wacky.
I believe it is d'enfance, which means only an hour different. I think that is, unless it's in America. Apologies, I haven't really kept up with that. But yeah, very excited for that, and I like that for Chad Gable.
Yeah.
I like post WrestleMania. Shut that door because there's a draft coming in. Right, let us know your thoughts on everything we've discussed, and if you're wondering, well, we talked about Brock and Gunther being in the Rumble. Who else could be in there? Well, we've predicted all the entrants, and the video is right here. See you later.